Mic check, mic check. Can you hear me in your headphones?
I got you loud and clear.
I'm not hearing you here because it's not turned up. Check, check.
I got you loud and clear.
So I'll keep this one turned down. And then let me, since it's our first space, I bet nobody's really on there yet.
Nope.
And so from here, you can share via a post, right? And this is from the host account or whatever, but you can share this like in DMs and stuff. Share via chat. And so here's all the people. I can select everybody that I want to come in the space, right? So all of these people I have on this account, right? If you tap that, you can share it in any chat rooms with anybody you want to come. Don't leave the space. That's like to stop co-hosting. It's that little up triangle that you want to tap and say share via post, share via invite, whatever you want. And then here I'm going to go do a quick mic check. Go to my profile. It's like two left thumbs doing it from here, and then I'm going to go ahead and listen live. I'm going to start listening to Iron Patriot. I'm going to do.
Hey everyone, welcome. We'll get started here in a little bit. We're going to try and get some music going here in just a second. Hey, Jordan, go ahead whenever you're ready. Play some music.
Hey, sorry, it's gonna be a minute. I'm headed to a music store. I'm out and about on my way to Toastmasters, but I'll be able to in a few.
Sounds good. Yeah, Tom is working through some technical issues between doing the host and the co-host at the same.
Hi, guys. I hope you're sharing this space. Hi, Nancy.
Mic check.
5 by 5.
Iron's having a little bit of an issue with his connectivity right now, so we're working through it.
All right. You got about 4 minutes to start.
Yep. Yeah, he's back in, I think.
Okay, I'm ready.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Excuse the noise in the background. I'm in a music store, but um, bear with me. Okay.
We got about 4 minutes.
Okay. Hold on. Oh, beautiful, where heroes proved and lived the waiting strife. Who more than self, their country love and mercy more than life. America, America, Make all thy glorified. Till all success be the holiness, and every gate divine. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, forever waves away, for purple mountain majesties, above the food of plains. Oh, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with blood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with blood, from sea to shining.
Thank you, brother. Quick mic check. Quick mic check. Very, very good. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to the very first Liberty X Happy Hour. I couldn't be happier to be relaunching this space that we started back in October of 2024, when we had some pretty amazing guests on. Shell was such a big help in connecting different folks on spaces. And if you've ever been to a Shell space, you know that Shell is a huge believer in the power of spaces and how it can connect people and ordinary people in doing pretty extraordinary things and meeting pretty extraordinary people. And Shell is really a testament to all of that. So thanks everybody for coming tonight. If you guys can just take a second and quote post a space, repost it, share it in your DM groups, and get some folks in here. Tonight is our inaugural space, and it's just going to be me and Fido doing our thing. The format is it's a little bit of a formal space tonight. We'll probably go a little longer than we normally will, but we're going to go from 7 to 8 o'clock every week. It'll be more of a guest interview style space where it's planned around specific topics. So we're going to do that tonight and kind of kick off what the format is. The audience will get to come up. They'll be able to ask questions. They can comment to us at the very end. We will always, always, always close Liberty X out in a prayer for our show. And I thank you very much, Jordan, for coming tonight. Jordan's going to close out our spaces the weeks that he can make it here in song and feel a little church and speak what we really want to convey to the world, which is that we're both Christian men. We both believe in conservative values. And we're very interested in bringing topics that interest both of us to this space. So like I mentioned, it's about our guest. We will, if you guys know anybody that are doing, that are book authors, that are launching podcasts, that have podcasts, that's written books, I'm the educator in our group, and I'm really all about educating people about what makes America great, what makes learning great, and how we can become better individuals and better citizens in America. So I'm the educator in the group, and Fido is my best friend in real life. We've been friends for almost 24 years now, Fido. I was just thinking about that this morning. We're going on 24 years of knowing each other. And Fido is probably one of the most exceptional minds I've ever met in my life. He's a 20
I don't know
vet.
about all that.
He's incredibly smart, and he's got very similar values that I share in my life. I go to church with Kyle often. We've been going to church for years together, and we've been supporting each other. So, Fido, I'm going to kind of kick it off to you, and then we'll get the interview part up and have our folks come up and ask some questions. And thank you so much, Shell, for being here tonight and supporting us through some of these technical issues. It has been almost a year since we've done Liberty X Happy Hour.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Tom said, he's the educator in the group, and I'm the veteran. So, the two of us, like you said, 24 years. It's hard to believe it's been that long. We're both fathers, and we both love our families, and we both love God. Like you said, just open it with a quick word of prayer that, Lord, just help us to say the things that you want. We know that you've guided us to this point that we can share our stories with these other listeners and with other people around the world, that hopefully you can use this space to help people heal from all the different hang-ups that we have and the traumas that we go through, and just help it to that maybe someone will be listening tonight that will be able to relate to our stories and the things that we know, and that you'll be able to heal and do those things. So, as you're going to hear from Tom and me as well, both of us have unique stories that both involve trauma. They both involve different things. So, I'm a combat veteran, so I was a fighter pilot for 20 years. I was on the ground with the Army for 9 months. So just that's kind of a little bit of about my background. Tom and I met. We both love animals. We love our families and our kids, and we are trying to make our world a little bit better. So as you can hear, those are the things that we care about. So we're going to run our space that about 20, 25 minutes of us interviewing somebody, and then give you guys a chance to ask us questions if you want. So we'll ask you to raise your hand if you want to, and we'll bring you up here so you can speak. We'll do our best. I'm pretty new to this. Iron is kind of an expert, and Shell's an expert at these spaces, but I'm pretty new to this. Tom talked me into it. But we will do everything we can. If we need to go over a little bit longer tonight, then so be it. But we just thank you so much for joining us. We thank you, everyone, for being here, and we thank God for giving us this opportunity. So, all right, go ahead, Tom.
Well, thanks, guys. Like I said, tonight it's really about just kind of getting to know me and getting to know Fido and what our background is. So I'm gonna ask Fido a few questions. We're gonna see where the conversation goes from that, just so you guys can get to know who he is as an individual. He's gonna turn around and interview me. Then we'll open it up for questions. And at the very end of the space, I invite anybody to come up and plug what you're doing, what you're interested in. And if you have ideas or you want to connect us with folks that you know, me particularly, why you'd want to message me is book authors. I love nothing more than reading. Fido's a big reader too. And we're a little different than I've seen in other spaces in that we're actually going to read the book. Dead President shows here. Him and I kicked off Liberty X last year. And he was gracious to co-host that space with me for a long time. I'm looking forward to him being a guest host in here from time to time, or maybe even coming back and supporting us on a regular basis. But he and I did quite a few book spaces together last year. It was kind of runoffs from our standard weekly space where it was around a guest and a specific topic. And we actually read the books live in the space, gave away a bunch of free books. But as Dead can attest to, we will read your book and ask insightful questions from a perspective of someone who's read it. And one of the other things I think that's unique about us is that we are going to advertise whoever our guest is for the coming week, starting the day after our Monday space. So we'll always be on Mondays. We'll advertise who our guest is going to be for the following week, and we will engage that person. And when they come to the space, we're going to launch an article about them that tells you all about their background, whatever their mission is, whatever their vision is, things about their books, some interesting things that maybe they've posted on X, or just whatever it is that that guest wants. So if you know people who are writing books, who are starting organizations, who just want another platform to get their organization out there and build their X following, we're going to do our best to work all week long to really promote that person and whatever it is that they're doing. get them in a space so people can talk to them. And then we're going to commit to doing a little bit of follow up with that guest too, and posting some highlights from our clips from our space so that people remember what it was about in case they missed it, so they can go back and catch it. So that's really what we're all about. And where we're going moving forward. We do have some longer term plans. We'll kind of announce those as we go. I am happy to say that March, we have a guest for every Monday in March. Our guest for next week is going to be Larry Brock Jr., who is a retired fighter pilot from the Air Force. He's currently running for office in the state of Texas, but he was also a J6er. So those of you who have ever been on the Reckoning, that was a very, very popular space that Shell helped launch. Right now, they're doing it just one Monday every week until we find out whether or not he indeed is the chosen one for his primary in the state of Texas. That's going on this week, and that's who I really, really want to pray for this coming week. He'll be with us next Monday at 7:00. You guys are going to get to come up and ask him questions. Learn about what's life like after. Is he going to be the next rep in the state of Texas, or is he going to be back to doing the Reckoning 5 days a week and something else? So we're really looking forward to speaking to him, and we're going to get a whole lot of word out about him over the coming weeks. So all that being said, let's get to know you, Fido, or do you want to ask me first? It doesn't really matter.
I'll go ahead. That's fine. You've been talking for a little while, so I might as well.
Might as well, yeah, because people are going to drop the space otherwise. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm a 20-year veteran in the Navy. So I started out flying Tomcats. I'm from a little tiny town called Crystal River, Florida. I had an amazing family. My mother and father are still married for more than 50 years now. I've been married for 25 years now to my beautiful wife, and we have a 10-year-old girl, just one child. So I was gone a lot, but she is an amazing gift to us. And she is the love of my life. Both of those girls, I would do anything for. I've had to spend a lot of time away from my wife. I spent my first wedding anniversary eating a fun-sized pack of M&Ms at my survival training in the woods of Maine, doing that kind of stuff. So it wasn't how I wanted to spend my first wedding anniversary, but uh, certainly lots of veterans. So I'm also a disabled veteran. So I'm rated for PTSD. Saw a lot of really tough things over my years on the ground with the Army that we can talk about more later. But had trauma from that. And then Tom and I will talk about our childhood traumas as well, something that honestly, this whole last year was kind of a whole tough time for me, coming to terms with all these things. Tom was one of the few people in the entire world. My wife and Iron here, sorry, are the two people that I ever told this to before this year. And there's nobody else that I trust more than Iron in this entire world. I hope some of you guys can relate. So I felt like my childhood trauma uniquely positioned me to deal with a whole bunch of other trauma. I look at that trauma as something that everybody has a limit of what they can see and how much bad stuff you can experience, but it always affects everyone the same way at some point. Well, you push it down and you push down your emotions and you get this numb feeling, and then unfortunately it doesn't just get rid of the bad stuff; it gets rid of the good stuff in your life too. And it's all logic and not much emotion, and you feel this numbness inside that you don't even realize is there until it starts coming out. And then most of the time, it starts coming out as anger towards people around you. Luckily, I have the most loving family in the world that didn't necessarily do that, and then a lot of times people will end up in bad places there, and I can understand that, and understand those feelings that people have as they start coming to terms with it. But luckily, I found some amazing people to help me through it, and hopefully, this is resonating with some of the veterans out there that they had those same kind of feelings that hey, there is light, that something to try and prevent people from reaching that place where you don't feel like it's worth it anymore. If you just save one of us, right? Call a buddy, call a friend. 17 veterans, or more than 17 veterans, every day commit suicide. So something that we could do something about. Veterans have to look after veterans, but the same traumas that we hear about as trafficking and children, and the traumas that people go through in our world. We need to help out with those traumas equally because it affects people exactly the same way, and it's something that people that have been through these things can relate relate to. So I just want to speak out for that. So we're going to have shows about those things as well, and something that we care about. We care about history too. I love history, so we shouldn't repeat it. I'll let Tom speak here. So that's me for in a nutshell. I'll let
Well,
Tom go.
nice. He just took a couple interview questions away, but that's okay. You guys know a little bit more about him now, which is wonderful. And we'll start sort of the interview so that you guys get a sense of what the format is. So I'm the educator in the group, right? If you know any book authors, you know folks that really want two people that are going to work really hard all week to honor that particular guest, send them my way. If you know anybody who I'm kind of a podcast junkie when it comes to politics, send them my way. And if you know any vets, you know anybody experiencing PTSD, you know anybody that just wants someone to talk to, Kyle's a volunteer for a local organization here, but we would love to have our veterans in our space so that we can make sure that they all know that they're supported always. Sometimes the government doesn't do the best with supporting their mental health, their physical well-being, and who better to support vets than other vets. So thanks for all your service for us and our country. Fido, you want to mute your mic really quick so we don't get any feedback, and then I'll mute in between our questions, and I'll go ahead and kind of start with your interview. So you told us a lot about yourself and sort of your story and how you grew up. You told us, you know, you grew up in Florida, you had an amazing family. I absolutely adore your family and your wife's family. They all know that. In fact, father-in-law is in this space, but we're not going to point him out. We'll see if anybody can guess who he might be. But he's definitely a listener tonight, and some of my favorite people in the entire world. And you know this, I think that a lot of times, Kyle, I remind you of the things that God has blessed you with in your life, with a family that loves you and that cares about you. And in many ways, you're the brother I've never had. And your family, I feel like, is my family, and I would do anything for them. So, you know, you told everybody a little bit about that, and you had a normal childhood and loving childhood. But, you know, I think, you know, everybody knows now that you're a veteran. But can you tell us, like, when you decided to go to the military, how that happened, what you did when you went in the military, where that whole story started? And then I will go to my next question.
Yeah, sure. So I started out, I was the kid that didn't want anything to do with the military. Both my grandfather served during World War II, but none of the rest of my family was in the military. Some of my friends were joining this JROTC thing in high school. So I was like, well, that sounds cool, but I don't want to have to cut my long hair because I had a pretty awesome mullet in the back and I didn't want to let it go back then. It was a great style that sometimes comes back around. And decided to do that. Got into the military through JROTC, so we had a rifle team and drill team, and ended up. I was a pretty good student in high school, so ended up finishing second in my class, and then going on to the Naval Academy. So I went up to Annapolis. So I was blessed to be able to do that. Just decided that that's what I wanted to be. I was going to be a Marine. Spent a lot of time with the Marine Corps before I graduated, and but ultimately decided I wanted to be a pilot more than I wanted to be a Marine. And Marines, bless them, but you should be a Marine first and then a pilot second if you're going to do that. Uh, I'm sure most of the Marines can probably relate to that. I think I made the right decision too. Plus, I knew I had a lot better chance of flying jets in the Navy, and jets are awesome. So they're great. Some of the other little things. So we mentioned some of the things about our childhood. So I was born out in Oklahoma, so and that's where a lot of my family is in the Midwest. But moved to Florida. But things that happened before that. So one of the things I mentioned the traumas as a childhood. Although I had a great childhood with my parents, and my dad was the most loving father you could ever have. I ended up through a friend or whatever. This priest ended up abusing me, and I had no idea what was going on. I was a kid, didn't know. It's one of those things that you're like, you don't even know what's going on, and why things are happening or anything else. But I was able to get out of that by my parents leaving and moving to Florida. So it let me escape that whole situation and everything else that happened with it. I didn't even tell them until this last year. So for over 40 years, I kept that secret, and didn't even tell them. And that I can say that in this space and not break down, and that Iron and I can share here with the people that are listening, that there is hope. Obviously, the whole Epstein files have made this right in the face of everybody, human trafficking and pedophiles and everything there. But it's a blight on our world. We should hunt those people down. I don't care about the politics. I don't care about any of them. But it's not as simple as what people make it sound, right? We have evil people in our world, and we need to constantly do that. So, and find those people. So that's sort of how I ended up in the military and what I ended up doing. That's my family. Some of the traumas that I went through as a kid that I mentioned, that seeing some of the hard things I saw in the military. My hardest trauma for me was seeing an 8-year-old girl get killed by our troops. They blew up an IED. I was a counter IED officer with the Army, and it hit this girl in the head that was 200 meters away. And seeing her blood in a Humvee and going to give her father money a couple days later, it stuck with me. And I thought I'd dealt with it for a long time, but I really hadn't. And then, and in addition to that, there was all kinds of other traumas and things that happened along the way that didn't even bother me. And it's kind of funny, like dropping bombs on people and doing all those things that we just took for granted as part of our job. But that one really stuck with me. And still, that's the hard thing for me, is seeing kids suffer and seeing children that are just innocent. So if I get angry about things, which I very rarely ever get angry, that's what I get angry about. And if I get angry with the space, then that's what it's going to be. So I think it's rightfully so.
Well, I think you've taken a lot of that, and I'll never forget the day that you told me about what happened to you and stuff, and the times that I sort of shared the things that happened with me, and so that I know has really shaped you into the person that you are. And so, just thinking about the show and Liberty X and all of the ideas that we've shared around this space. Besides the veterans affairs, and supporting your brothers in the military, and supporting spaces and having spaces and volunteering and getting awareness out about children, what other things most interest you about Liberty X, and where do you see us being in 6 months to a year from now?
Yeah, so Iron asked me to do this with him. He was in spaces for a while and then ended up taking a break. And he said, "Hey, you got to come on and do this, and we'll do it together." So this space is amazing, and it's our voice to be able to reach other people, to help other veterans, to help other people who are dealing with trauma, to hopefully reach somebody and make our world better. We want to use our guests and interview them and what they care about. It's a little bit different than what you might hear on some podcasts, but at the same time, talk about topics for that day. And we're going to try and focus on those things. So we really want to see those things happen. And that's what I'm really hoping to get out of this. Please feel free to reach out to me or DM me if you need help. Like you said, I'm a volunteer with the Warriors Journey. One of the guys that I help might even be on here. I'm not sure, but to try and reach out to other veterans. So I know I've been talking a lot there, so now it's about time for Tom to start
Oh goodness, I
getting in the
do
hot
not
seat
like to
here.
talk about myself, and you know this.
Yeah.
But I will mention, Fido does have one of his former vets coming. It'll be our last show in March, and he's a gentleman who wrote a pretty inspiring book. We're going to talk about his book. We're going to talk about his military service. And we're going to talk about ways that we can align. So really looking forward to meeting him and learning more about him as we get closer to that space, Fido. So anyway, go ahead, shoot, man.
Yeah, Mr. Pigpen is coming on, so he should be amazing. He was a prisoner in the Hanoi Hilton for a while, and he was in my squadron a long time before me. But so you heard a lot about me. So now about Iron. So we set up. We love our families. So I told you about my family. So what about your family? What are the things that people should know about your family?
I prefer to just talk about the family that I created, but I assume you're talking about the one that I happen to be born into.
Hey, whichever way you want to
Yeah.
go. I was going to ask whichever way you don't answer, and then we'll get to
So
either one.
I was
So.
born into a pretty broken family. I had a paranoid schizophrenic as a father. Um, my father was very sick most of his life, and he passed away a couple of years ago. But I really kind of found out that it actually happened about mid last year, which was about the same time that I lost my father-in-law, who was very near and dear to me, and went through that. We lost quite a few people over the last year in my family, and taking the role of these people like Fido, like Fido's family, that I would call and I would ask advice for. I kind of grew up in a household where it was just everybody speaking from never logic. It was always emotion. And we suffered me and my two siblings suffered pretty severe abuse, not just from him, but from other members of our family. Me, not so much from other members as my sisters, but me all from my father. And I didn't tell anybody for a long time. Fido is actually the first man that I ever told about what happened to me, but my father physically and sexually abused me for the better part of my childhood until I started pushing back, and then it ended. I did talk about this on a space we had where we talked about these issues last year, and it was the first time I told the world. The very first person that I told was a high school teacher. And it was that one high school teacher is the one that got to me, right? Just that one. And she made me realize that I was smart and that I could do biology, and that come to find out I could do advanced biology and advanced chemistry. And she really has been sort of a steady parent in my life, if you will, because my mother, I was the fourth child, and my mom had just turned 19 when she had me. So if that says anything, not to mention the fact that my father was way older than her, and on today's standards, he would have probably been in prison for the age difference between them. My oldest sister passed away shortly after she was born. Then I had twin sisters. Shortly thereafter, that my mom was 16 when she had them, and then she was still a teenager in my mind when she had me. So when she decided to leave, we sort of took her place where she had a lot of physical abuse, and that abuse really switched over to us. And when my sisters would be at school during the day, that's when my father would abuse me. And I grew up being very, very, very ashamed of that. But it really did shape me, and this teacher really shaped me into who I eventually became. And I ended up graduating from college, and I graduated from graduate school, and then I went to school beyond that, and I went into a whole lot of student debt. But I've made a very successful life, and I've become a committed father, a committed husband. I've been married to the same woman since 2002. So we just celebrated our 24th wedding anniversary this last January, and she is the love of my life. We have adopted two children, and she has accepted my two older daughters, who are also very successful adults with very normal families, and a very, I would say, somewhat normal life, who had a father who just was searching for how to raise them the proper way. And I had to rely on other people, including Fido, in my life to ask questions about, how do I parent properly? How would I be a good father? And the one thing that I can say is, if you asked any of my kids what ask them about me, they would tell you that I tell them I love them every single day. They all know that they are loved, and I raise them to take school important, and to make sure that they don't take the examples I give them in their life, but take examples from all of the people in their life, so that they grow up and become productive adults who have normal families. And I'm happy to say that I've changed the trajectory of my family, because I have two very successful daughters. I think my second oldest daughter no longer has any debt, has a house that's paid off, has a wonderful husband. And oh, by the way, they're about to have my third grandchild. And my oldest daughter, she's married. She's a pharmaceutical executive, or I'm sorry, researcher. And I always say she makes drugs for a living. And she has had two boys, which are my grandchildren, and she named one of them after me. And it was one of the biggest honors of my life. So I've taken what was really handed to me in life, and I've worked incredibly hard my entire life to provide a good life for my family. So I live, breathe, and eat my family. That's all I ever think about, and that's what gets me up and keeps me motivated to keep going every single day. And I joined X because, I have this career, I get paid really well, but in higher education, the whole DEI thing has made it just not a place that I really want to be. And so this space and being on X gets me away from things that I grew up sort of believing, if you will, and now it's always in our face, right? And education has been really co-opted by leftists and Marxists. And we had Dr. Stan Wrigley on our space last year, and he's written 2 books, one of which was really, really successful about how DEI came to be. So I'm very interested in those kinds of things. I'm very interested in talking to people that are in higher education. If you're working in higher education, if you're a faculty in higher education, or even if you're in student services and you don't feel like you have a conservative voice in that space, that's something that I'm very interested in having some spaces on in the very near future. I have reached back out to Stan Wrigley because he did write another book last year, and I have asked him to be a guest, and he has agreed to be, and he just needs to get back to me on his schedule. So really looking forward to talking to him and kind of bringing some higher education things into the spaces world. But that's me pivoting off of my childhood and my family growing up, Fido. So any other questions?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you talked a little bit about your childhood. So I know that other thing that you totally care about is politics, and you've been very involved with Scott Pressler and trying to register voters in Pennsylvania. And both of us live in Virginia. So tell us a little bit about politics and the other part that really got you into X.
Well, it really was that I didn't have anybody except for Fido, who he's out piloting for FedEx all the time, and I don't really have any friends that were really interested in having discussions about politics or learning about what's going on locally or getting involved in things that are local, right? So I just started doing it on my own and literally was walking doors and passing out flyers trying to get Hung Kao elected to our Senate in a very liberal area of Northern Virginia. So I was doing that once voter registration stopped in Pennsylvania, where I was driving over there to Freda, and that's where I met Scott Pressler. But I never would have met him if it weren't for X, and being on spaces and realizing things are going on that you don't really see in mainstream media. And that's really how I connected with him and met up with him. And I'm still looking forward to getting involved, especially because we have a special election here in about 6 weeks in Virginia. And I've recently connected, as of last week, I connected with our local Fairfax GOP to help get involved. But I care about this country. I've never been that involved in politics. I've always voted. I've never missed an election, no matter where I've lived, and I've always voted. But never more was it more imperative than last fall to actually get involved. So perhaps we'll have some spaces about that. About local Virginia things and local Virginia politics. But yeah, I do very much care about this country. I do pay attention to what's happening, and I love nothing more than to read books about history and politics. So I think that answers that question. So that's really my extent of politics.
Absolutely. So those are the so thank you so much for telling us a little bit about yourself. So as you heard from Iron, those are the things, that's who we are. This is about how long we're probably going to take to interview our guests so that you learn a little bit about them. So hopefully you know a little bit more about Iron and myself through some of these questions. Um, Please, if you want to ask questions or you want to speak now, then come on up and ask us questions. We can talk about this, or we can talk about other subjects that are going on. I had a pretty broad experience in the military about all the different topics that are going on in our world today, and current events are something that Iron always talks about. So, like you said, hands are great. We'll just go to Shell first. She's been an amazing support for us, so we thank you so much. So, if y'all can like, share, and post this space. And help us to grow this amazing venue so we can make our world better. So, Shell, over to you.
We become best friends.
You want to take that one?
You want that
I
one,
can take
Tom?
it if you want. So interestingly enough, I was stationed, we lived in the Central Valley of California a good part of my life. It was one of the many stops being a military child, growing up as a Navy child with my stepdad and my mother. We ended up in Lemoore, California. And anybody that's from the Central Valley of California knows that place has a way of sort of sucking you back in and keeping you there. So after college, I ended up going back to that area. which is where I had my two oldest daughters, and then I sort of set foot and kept my family there until both of my older daughters graduated from high school, and that's when we moved to Virginia. So when we were out there, me and my wife met, and well, I think we were still dating when. No, we had just gotten married, so we had been married about 10 or 11 months when Fido and I met. Believe it or not, we met at a dog park in this town called Hanford, California, which I know some people on this space know about that area. But that's how we met, was at a dog park, and we both had dogs.
Yep. Yeah, our wives actually brought us together because both of us are pretty antisocial social club people.
Exactly.
So, much like everybody else, we need our wives and the women in our lives to keep us straight. So they met over our dogs and said, "Hey, we don't want to have a dog play date." And I was gone all the time. So I was stationed in Lemoore, flying fighter airplanes and trying to be the best fighter pilot that I knew how to be. And so, like, yeah, we should do something. These people are really cool. His wife is amazing, and you keep hearing about this guy Tom. So we finally got together. We hit it off, and our wives, and we've been best friends. We moved 15 times in the Navy in my 20 years, but Iron and I, we live really close to each other now, and he's the godparents to my kids. So that's how close we are, and that's how we met. Believe it or not, at the dog park, and they have 3 dogs, we have 2 dogs, so all different dogs than what we had, but both of us love animals as well.
Well, I think Matt has his hand up as well. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey guys, great job, and great space. Shell, always good to see you. But what I want to know is what shapes your view, what shapes your worldview. Is what I want to know. What shapes your guys' worldview? Meaning, what helps you answer the question? Why the 3 questions really? Why are we the way that we are? Why is the world the way that it is? And what can we do about it?
I mean, I guess I
Yeah,
can
go for
take
it,
this.
Fido. I'll follow up.
So throughout all this, so our belief in God actually brought us closer together. So I believe Jesus Christ is the answer, that He's our Savior. I believe that through a lot of reading different religions and understanding that. My parents moved away from Christianity somewhat when I was little, so I ended up bringing them back closer to God. So I had to deal with a lot of this stuff. So, like, why do good things or why do bad things happen to good people? As we were dealing through all this trauma, and why are these things happening? Things that I never really put a lot of thought into of why these things happen. Why does God let children suffer? Why does God let people be abused and these evil people that the world is better off without exist in the world? And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Why do we have all this stuff going on? So my personal worldview comes to that Jesus and God wants everybody to have a chance to come to Him and to repent of the things that they've done. I'm a firm believer that there's no sin that's unforgivable, but that's not my job to forgive those sins. That's God's job to forgive those sins because I've done things that I'm not proud of, as almost everybody in the world has. But Jesus can forgive you for those if we just ask. And it changes you from the inside, and it doesn't make people perfect. And the thing that everybody likes to point out is the hypocrisy where people that claim to be believers in God do that. So that colors everything that I believe and everything that I live in life. And I'm certainly not a perfect person by any means. So I come to say these 2 phrases a lot, and you'll probably hear me say it a lot in Liberty X, that 2 wrongs don't make a right, and always do the next right thing. So no matter what it is, you're like, if someone else does something wrong, that doesn't mean that you should do something wrong right back. And if you're doing the right thing for the right reason, God will bless you for those things. So I guess that kind of hopefully that answers the question from my perspective. I'll let Iron take what he thinks.
And I come from a Christian perspective for sure. Christian and I will also add Judeo perspective. We are a Judeo Christian nation. But I think the thing that really shapes me are stories and hearing other people's stories. Growing up the way that I grew up and the chaos that I grew up in and the abuse that I grew up in, I had to kind of learn my way through life, and I had to learn it by looking at other people's families and how they operated. And the best way to do that was just reading stories. And so historical fiction and nonfiction books are like something that I could just sit and do anytime. And I remember reading, when I really got into reading, especially after I got out of college and I didn't have to read all the college books anymore. As I read a story by a woman named Lao called "First They Killed My Father," and it was about the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia and Laos and the trials and tribulations that their family went through. And it gave me pause to say that, as hard as things were for me growing up and, working 90-hour work weeks and taking, seven classes in college semester after semester after semester and just sticking to it so that I wasn't going to be the loser that my father was, that I wasn't going to be the loser that I grew up around, right? Is I really had to read stories of what other families were really like. And it wasn't really honestly until I met Fido that I really had a close friend that I could look to say, what does a normal family look like? So I like to think of myself as a lifelong learner who loves nothing more than hearing someone else's story and saying, what is it that I can take away from this individual or this group of individuals and apply it to my life to be a better version of myself. So, but other than what Fido said, I mean, we have very similar views, which is, I think, why we get along. So I hope that answers your question, Matt.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering that, Iron. So, if anybody else wants to, please like, share the space. We're going to go to Daniel in just a second. So, we just wanted to say thank you so much, y'all, for coming. We couldn't do this, and we're just so thankful and blessed to be able to speak to everybody. And hopefully, you guys will tune in each week, and we'll give you something each week. So, give you a chance to say something too, and hopefully, we'll have some interesting topics too. So, the rise of Islam is something that both of Iron and I are very passionate about. I spent a lot of my service in the Middle East, both with Shia and Sunni Muslims, and knowing about that, and we've seen that rise amongst all the different things. So that we're trying to get a topic on that as well to talk about it. We've heard about Sharia law and all the different Muslims that are in the world, and we have a significant Muslim population here in Northern Virginia that we do live amongst. And I was actually, my daughter went to a birthday party at a Muslim's house last weekend. So, Daniel, over to you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to pray for this space since it's an inauguration being the first. I would like to pray before you end. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Daniel. We do have a prayer.
God.
We do have a prayer planned for the very end, but I don't mind if you add on to what we already have planned, though. I definitely appreciate that, and I appreciate you offering to do that.
Yeah, guys, real quick, just so y'all know, Daniel is a friend of mine from the Christian community here on X. I guess he saw my repost and decided to join. So cool that he's here.
That's pretty amazing. I actually don't mind if you want to pray us out, and then if I feel like I need to add to it, I will add to it. So thank you for offering that, Daniel. I appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody else wants to ask questions or speak, yeah, we're not trying to cut you off, Daniel, and we definitely want to give you time too. And everyone needs prayer. We believe that there's power in prayer. Both of us do. We might not see those things, but God sees them and He will respond, whether we have it now or we have it later. So sometimes the answer is there, but I'm a believer in the Holy Spirit, and that the Holy Spirit is something that lets us see what God wants us to do. So I think the Bible teaches that since I believed in Him, that I know what God wants me to do and what God doesn't want me to do. It doesn't mean that I have to follow that. It just means that I know which one's which. So it's still a choice every single day, and there's still a bunch of horrible things that people that profess to believe do. So I think that makes it really hard for people everywhere, and especially the conflicts that we have. So, Shell, yeah, go ahead.
If you don't mind, I'd like to give a little bit of breaking news.
I would love that.
All right. A New York Police Department bomb squad has responded to Trump Tower after reports of a suspicious package. Transit lines nearby are already disrupted as authorities are investigating. The threat is still unconfirmed. This is getting serious, guys, and I really hope that you guys really watch your backs and take care of the people that are around you. Be hyper vigilant and aware of your surroundings and being able to protect yourself. This is going to just continue to escalate. So I just wanted to make sure we pray about this too before we start all of that. So, man, it's getting serious out there, guys. But we got this. We got this. We're America.
It is getting serious. And Shell, we had we just had that thing in Fairfax happen right down the street from our house yesterday. And that guy getting out of the car and attacking folks with a knife. So there's definitely no connection there. This was just some crazy person, but it just feels like it's endless sometimes.
Yeah, we certainly feel that around here. I was just telling my wife this earlier that we still think that 99% of the people from Iran that are in our country are cheering what's going on in their country right now and cheering us on. But it's those people that we don't know about. Just like everything else, we both believe in kind of a circular view of political extremism that they all circle back around to being crazy people, whether they be on the right or the left or Muslim extremists. But extremism is extremism, and that it's just anarchy at the end of the day, and they don't care about anything or anyone other than hurting people that they feel have hurt them. So we're sad that that's in our world today, but being hyper vigilant now and not necessarily putting yourself in a position. The odds are low, and we have a lot of people looking after us, but we also have to look out for each other and look out for yourself too and your family first.
All right, I think Matt has his hand up real quick. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was just going to say to add on to what Shell said. I saw a DM from Buckster the other day, saying that we should probably be careful of our surroundings. So yeah, just everybody pray for a hedge of protection. Pray for God's hand of protection around you, especially if you're going to anywhere where there's big crowds, or avoid them altogether for the coming days if you feel the need of God, if that is something that the Lord is leading you to. So Shell, yikes, what's going on there in New York? Oof.
I don't know, Matt, but we'll see if it gets confirmed to have been a threat, hopefully very soon. To do that at Trump Tower is pretty bold. You know, it's pretty well protected. But yeah, it's just going to keep going. And just, remember, if you have any flights in the next couple of weeks, if you take an Uber, if you use any public transportation whatsoever, it doesn't matter. Be aware. There have been attacks by Uber drivers to their passengers. There's been, many instances like on a train or a bus that it could happen at any moment. So please, go with someone. I wouldn't go alone. And I mean, just be aware and stay safe.
Thank you, Shell. That's definitely good advice. Hey, Dead President Show, go ahead, brother.
What's up, gentlemen? Should I deny a person a loan who is a Salafist and their beard is dyed red with henna and they got a Muslim name? It's a real ethical conundrum of mine. I'm joking. I can't do that. I'd like to. No, I'm running, Iron, your brother, Fido, if he says you're good, his word is as good as gold to me. And I mean, we're living in some interesting freaking times. And it seems God is in favor of good, and that's what I've noticed in this since Trump's gotten in office. Things seem to be going real well for America, and if the world doesn't realize it or not, because they're mainly stupid, things I really I'm being very positive and being a realist. It's difficult, but no, man, just really looking forward to what you guys have cooking, and you always have my support, homie.
Man, Achi, I appreciate that a whole lot, and I can't wait. I really would love to have you and my very good Muslim friend who is about to get tenure and really wants to be the face and the voice of a Muslim reform movement, the likes of which nobody has seen in the past. He's got a pretty compelling story. And you and I have talked about this, but just for the audience purposes, I really want to have him on as doctor when he gets his doctoral degree, because he understands fundamentally the Federalist Papers. He understands the history of America, and he is a first generation American, but his parents, his father and mother, moved here with his family from Afghanistan because they tried to do this locally in the Middle East where they lived. And he had there were three uncles, or three brothers in total, right? There was his father, there was his father's brother who got captured by the Taliban, who was completely slaughtered and is no longer here. And there was the other brother who got captured by the Taliban and who ended up escaping, interestingly enough, and making it out of that situation. He's known in their family to not to he really never recovered from it. I guess you could say, right? But it was all because they were saying, hey, we really need to have this separation of church and state if we ever hope Islam is going to survive long term, right? And that, as you and I have talked many hours on this, Ted, and many text messages over the years, I think until Islam goes through their own version of a Protestant Reformation, we're never going to be compatible with Western society. And I think that there are a large number of people that are of the Islamic faith that have similar variations, just like we do, who are Judeo-Christian background or who are Jewish, right? There's many flavors, and this is something Ded says all the time is, and that's really stuck with me and the time that I've spent with him is that, not all priests are pedophiles, not all African American people are ghetto, right? And what's the other one? The third one, Ded? I just remember those first two examples.
Not all cops are racist murderers.
Not all cops are racist murderers. And I would say the same as for Islam, if they went through the same thing that Christians went through during the Protestant Reformation. They need a biblical change in their text. They need to denounce Sharia law and rewrite that part of the Quran. And that's what this guy is all about. Not only is he about all of that, but he knows he knows everything about the Quran, everything about what he wants to see rewritten in the Quran, and everything that he wants to see for the common person that is of Muslim faith believe fundamentally in the same things. And a lot of them, believe it or not, according to him, denounce Sharia law, but most people don't have the wherewithal within their communities to actually come out and say it publicly without fear of something very, very bad happening to them. So I'm going to take that same advice, Ted, and say that not all people of the Islamic faith are in the same boat. So I hope to have you on that space, because I think it could be a very smart and educational space for people to hear that I think every religion and every people of every faith background have had some sort of societal change like that. For Christians, I think it was the Protestant Reformation was one of the biggest changes that happened in that faith. And I'm sure you can share some of your Jewish faith with everybody else. I think it'll be a smart space with very intelligent people that have American values and America first kinds of concepts in their minds. So anyway, all that being said, I think we have only 9 minutes left. We are going to try to run this as a tight 1 hour ship. So if anybody else wants to come up and ask questions, I think we can run this one a little bit longer. If not, I'd love to close out in prayer. And thank you, Daniel, for being willing to do that. And then we'll have Jordan close us out in song and do this just like a little bit of a church space. Go ahead, Allie. I see your hands up.
Thank you, guys. Not really a question. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Gotcha.
We got you.
Perfect.
Not
Yep.
really a question, more of just a comment and major compliment. I know that what you guys shared, I can imagine that it was one of the hardest things to do. For those of you that may or may not know, I work in the counter human trafficking space, and oftentimes people don't get a perspective or hear the stories about the men and boys that have been impacted as well, and not just from human trafficking, right? It's the abuse, the sexual assault, the manipulation, the grooming, and really, I think that it's a important conversation for men and boys to have because there are so many stories that have gone on between men that they keep to themselves, and it's because of how we view men and how they view themselves. And it's really hard when we've encountered men and boys that have faced traumas like that, um, to really even understand the depths of what they're going through. We have this persona or this perspective that men are, supposed to be the strong ones. They can't show any weakness. They need to be the leaders. And while all of that can be true, sharing the truth about what you went through also empowers other men and boys and shows that it's not a weakness to share something that was so horrifying and so traumatic. And it gives people, especially our boys and our men, hope that it doesn't make you any less of a man to share, some of these things when you're ready in your time. But I really think that it shows um, just a great, I'm missing the word.
I
Darn it.
think it takes
Example.
a lot of courage to talk
Example.
about it,
It
Allie.
shows a Yeah,
Yeah.
my bird is squawking in the background.
Oh,
So
you're good.
it shows a great in our girls that men can have these conversations and that these things do happen to men and we can't forget them in the conversation. So I just wanted to thank you guys.
Thank you, Allie. And
Yeah,
if there's
absolutely. Thank you
oh yeah,
so
go ahead,
much.
Fido.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that I think Iron and I have both realized over this last year. We always hear about iron sharpening iron, and that's exactly what we have been for each other. So I'm not going to say it hasn't happened over alcohol and that we haven't hung out, and that there are times that like our wives used to joke with us that we'd grab a bottle of wine or some scotch or bourbon and we'd solve all the world's problems. But by the time morning rolled around, we had forgotten exactly what all the solutions were. Um, but that was part of our healing. So it was another one of those things that we've realized, both of us, that people, when they have those traumas, whether they're men or women, they do run to those substances, whether that be alcohol or drugs or risky behaviors. It sounds crazy that when people are abused, they run to sexual behaviors and things that are not normal, right? And it makes it really hard for men and women to open up and to have those feelings and to relate. So from all this stuff that's happened, my wife and I are closer than ever. That's the only thing I can say is that those things allow you to express those emotions with each other, which is what women need for us as men to be able to open up and connect. Because I think we're kind of wired out 100% opposite. So we open up through different things, but also women are also sort of taught that they need to be somewhat more submissive, and men are supposed to be more aggressive. But it's not so much aggression that we need to show, it's caring and love and protection. So what makes a man strong is that we protect other women and that we protect those around us. It doesn't make you strong to abuse someone, and that's not what makes a man. So I think we both learned those things through experiences, and we try and teach those to those around us and our children, so that our world will be a little bit better. So hopefully we live that out and don't just say those words. um, Sometimes we're not perfect either, right? We get upset, we get angry, we got problems,
No.
you name it, right?
No.
So that's just how life is. So I just wanted to say that those things. Thank you, Ali, for all that you do. I know that it's one of those things that I don't think I would be able to handle on a regular basis, and I know social work is one of those things that no one ever likes to say, and I was always like, "It's Feelings Friday, but we cancel it every Friday for lack of interest because we don't do feelings." But it is one of those things that we need people to do to care for others, and we hear about all these state things, and it's not the right answer for us in our society. but we do need people to care for people that are having real problems to get them out of some really bad situations. And getting them out of one bad situation into five others doesn't necessarily help people either. So, and sometimes, unfortunately, our system seems to do that to people
And you said you
with the
served in the
trauma.
military, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I spent 20 years in the Navy, so I was a fighter pilot, and then I was on the ground. So I've seen lots of Muslims. I've seen Muslims hurting Muslims and people doing that. I've seen tsunami relief in Indonesia. So it's kind of hard to explain what 100,000 people dying in a natural disaster and then floating around the ocean and everything, every part thereof, right? So you're talking about things that are unimaginable to people who haven't seen those things, and it was just every given day, right? But people are people, like Tom said, all over the world. They want to find somebody they love. They want their kids to have a better life than they did, and they want to make their world better. So even those people that are doing it and doing it out of anger, that we need to watch out for every single day that's coming up. So because we don't know who those people are right now, and we certainly stirred up a hornet's nest that's been sleeping for a long time with people saying "death to America" over and over again. So at some point, we got to believe them.
Well, thank you for your service, sir. And my comment for your strength and sharing your story, it goes beyond like the trauma of sexual assault. Like even anything that traumatizes you is extremely important to be able to address in a healthy way as far as having good coping mechanisms. My husband served in the military and they teach you to shut away your feelings. But then when you shut away a part of your brain that processes feelings, it's not only the part that processes tough feelings, but the part that processes joy and happiness. And so if we don't work through that in a healthy way, then we end up a shell of ourselves and not being able to experience true happiness while trying to avoid the most painful part. So I just appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allie. There's so much there that we could talk about for a whole hour, but yes, absolutely. And again, I would just want to echo what Fido said. Thank you for everything that you do. I think that there's a lot of kids out there that had that Julie Demena. That Julie Demena was that high school teacher I talked about earlier. I think everybody needs to have that Julie Demena, and especially kids who've gone through trauma, to just have someone there that knows that they love them, and that's why. Uh, I tell all my kids every time I see them that I love them, and they get tired of hearing it. And my 13-year-old will roll her eyes at me, but I will always tell her every time she goes to bed and every time she goes to school that I love her. But we've got Nathan and Matt, and then I'd like to wrap up in prayer after that, and then we'll have our amazing friend Jordan sing us out, and maybe go about 5-10 minutes late if that's okay with you guys. Go ahead, Nathan.
Matt was ahead of me.
Okay, well, we'll do Matt, and thank you, Nathan, for being so kind.
I was just going to ask, did you say earlier you'd like for people to plug what they've got going?
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. We'll have some time for that as soon as we wrap this part up. So if you want to come up at the very end, right before Jordan sings us out, if you guys have spaces or anything you want to come up and talk about, I'll talk about my few favorite spaces. And if I don't mention yours, maybe your space will be part of our regular repertoire here. So yeah, we'll go to Nathan and we'll come back to you when that's time, Matt. Okay.
Yeah, it's difficult having evil come at you, and I think Allie's heard me say this before, and I don't know if you have Iron Patriot or Fido, but uh, just as God fills our vessel and works through us, the evil in the world, they have if they open their vessel to Satan, then Satan fills their vessel and works through them as well. We the people who have a bright light, yeah, I think Satan wants to dim that light, and it's up to us to really go back to Scripture and you know put put everything at God's feet, because it's not your weight to carry. The Bible says to put your worries, cast it at the cross, and allow Christ to do it. as gross as it may sound, I think to really love Christ and to understand his message is it's not our place to judge. It's God's place. And I think someone mentioned earlier, even uh, these evil people, they can probably be saved as well. And if we look at Corinthians, it says that the the spirit lives within each of us. So I think it's on each of us to lift others up. That way, the Holy Spirit is stronger. But that's not to say that you got to make friends with your attacker or anything. I'm just kind of speaking as best I can to try to help understand from a spiritual perspective what Christ would want us to do, and maybe get some of that weight that anyone may carry with trauma. I hope that helps. Thanks.
It absolutely
Yeah,
helps me. Yeah,
definitely.
go ahead, Fido.
Yeah, so I mean, that's one of the things that I've really discovered. So a lot of people that are veterans, I mean, it's the stereotype: two old veterans having a beer and talking about old war stories. But I mean, that's healing. That's how we heal. And a lot of people don't want to talk about their trauma with someone who can't relate to that. So veterans don't want to talk to other people that are civilians that can't even understand the differences that are going on in the military or the horrible things that they experience. So I found that the people who feel guilty about something that they did that might not be right is even harder than the people that did it right but then saw hard things. And you can see the same thing in other kinds of trauma where people feel guilt over something that they did that might not be right, and evil begets evil and good begets good. So we need to help people to get out of that. There's not guilt in that, and we think that you're going to be judged when you tell people about these things, but that's not what happens. People offer you a hand and forgiveness when you think they're just going to judge you for something. So reach out to somebody who you think might relate. And if you have that, like we find that people are speaking up and talking to us about those things because I have seen a lot of military trauma. I have seen a lot of horrible things that happen that people can talk to you about those things. And it doesn't become your trauma when someone else shares what they had. But you don't want to traumatize your family. You don't want to traumatize people who aren't ready for those kinds of things. So there is some of that too, that you don't want to hear those horrible stories about something if you've never heard them and traumatized something. So, just like don't traumatize your kids, right? Don't tell people things that aren't true, and don't say horrible things. Or it's the same reason we don't let kids watch scary movies. At the end of the day, but it's scarier when it's real. So, just wanted to thank everybody for coming out tonight. So please quote, and share the space. So we'll let everybody else. If anybody wants to plug their space right now, now's the time. So request a mic and we'll give you that time. So we absolutely want to support everybody else who's out there, just like we have so many people that are supporting us tonight. So come on, just raise your hand and now's
Hey,
the time.
Fido, really quick, just to kind of close out what Nathan was talking about, I'll just share one quick tidbit with you, Nathan. When I was 35 years old, um, my biological father, who is the one that abused me, called me uh, and wanted to send me some money because he had inherited some money from my grandmother. And I decided instead to do exactly what you said and what the scripture calls us to say. And I actually forgave him when I was 35. And I forgave him for him, or I'm sorry, for myself. And I made that very clear to him that it isn't that I want a relationship with you because it's not possible for us to have that. But I wanted to do that for myself because that is part of the healing process. But for some people, it takes longer. It takes a lot of soul searching for, but I don't think I've ever felt better about who I am in the world until I actually gave that forgiveness that day. So it is very much a part of that process. So thanks for saying that. But yeah, I'd like to, Fido, we'll go ahead and have people come up, and I will just tell you that one of my favorite spaces every day to go to is the Punch Bowl, which is Monday to Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning. I also like to, when possible, I'm usually at work when Shell has her amazing space Monday through Thursday, is it now, Shell, with Rob Manus and the Rob Manus Show. So those are my favorite spaces to go to on X currently. I also go to Everything and Nothing from time to time at night with Southern and Lone Wolf, and that's just kind of like a popcorn space where everybody gets on and talks about the news of the day. So if anybody else wants to plug your space, go ahead and do that now. I'll close it out in prayer. And unfortunately, Jordan is not in a spot where he can come back up and sing us out tonight. So we will close it up with prayer and wrap it up for the night.
Yeah, and we said we were going to give Daniel a chance to say.
Yeah, we'll have Daniel pray, and if I have anything to add, we'll do that. But go ahead, Matt. Tell us about what you got going on, brother.
I've got three things going on this week. I've got a space Wednesday night where I'm talking to U.S. Senate candidate Michael Ferris. Sorry, Michael Ferris. He's running in Kentucky. He's a veteran, which I know you guys will appreciate, and so I'm looking forward to talking to him about that. I'm also looking forward to letting you guys hear him talk about his candidacy and why, if you're in Kentucky, or even if you're not, why you should be supporting him. So it's a pleasure of mine to be talking to him Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. And then that one is my pinned post as of now. So Friday, I've got a group of gals who are movers and shakers across a few different states, and I had them on back in January. They're going to be coming back to talk about what's been happening in said states since January, and that's going to be Idaho, Oklahoma, Iowa, and I'm forgetting the other. I'm forgetting the other one right now. Kentucky, ironically. And then on Saturdays,
those are all three this week. You said, Matt?
Yeah, that's two. That's two. The
That's
third
two.
one.
Okay.
Yeah. So Wednesday at 8, Friday at 7 Eastern, and then Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be hosting Betrayal Project USA's weekly space for them as well. So I'm going to be kind of busy this week. So that's all I got. Thank you all.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming up and telling us about your spaces, and feel free to come back every Monday. And if you DM me, I promise you I will repost it for you, and I will set a reminder for myself so I don't forget.
Absolutely, and I'll do my best as well. Like I said, I'm a little bit more new, but I'm working on it. I'm a little bit trainable most of the time.
Hey, thanks for all you guys are doing. I'm looking forward to coming back next week, seeing what you guys got cooking. Like I said, God bless y'all.
Thank you so much, Matt. And Shell, do you want to talk about what you and Colonel are going to talk about tomorrow?
Well, it's True Thursday, and we're going to have a great guest. And I don't know what they're going to talk about yet, but I know it's going to be good.
They always are. So thanks for telling, but I think you kind of got roped into it. So anybody else who's in this space?
Totally forced.
Yeah.
Totally forced.
Good times. Well, G is in there every morning, and she happens to be a listener. I'm very honored that G came. I know Allie Hopper is in spaces. I see her all the time with Santino and others. I see G with Santino and others. So those are some pretty great people. I'm sure most of you guys already know who they are. If you don't, you should be following those people. But really quick, before I turn it over to Daniel to have him wrap us up in prayer, thank you for doing that, Daniel. I appreciate that. Take the edge off. Really want to throw a huge thank you to Jordan for coming and singing us into the space today. A huge thanks to Dead President Show for coming and supporting. To my friend Land of Illusion, who is also here. Thanks for coming and supporting. And to all these new folks that I've met recently, thank you so much for coming tonight. We truly appreciate it. We really look forward to you guys coming back next week, where we'll have Larry Brock Jr., former fighter pilot. So come listen to two fighter pilots talking shop and get to know them if you don't know them. Otherwise, we're really looking forward to that space at 7 o'clock next Monday, and we hope to see you guys there. And Daniel, I'm going to go ahead and let you close us out in prayer, and we'll close out the space for the night. And thanks everybody for coming. Any final thoughts, real quick, Fido, before we go to prayer?
Well, if you don't want to know about a fighter pilot in the room, you shouldn't ask him. So I'm sure he'll tell all about everything that's going on. So, but I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Thank you so much. Hopefully, you learned a little bit about us. We'll try and do that each week. And family, talking about our current events. We got a great lineup coming up, talking about the things that we care about. Hopefully, you learned a little bit about the things that Iron and I both care about. And we're going to talk about veterans issues, PTSD. We're going to talk about Islam and religion and Christianity and our religion today. Those things are on our list, as well as politics. Iron is very involved, and I'm getting more involved in it as well. And our local politics, we got a lot going on here in Virginia, as a lot of states do, as the midterms start coming up. So thank you again so much. We'll be praying for all of you. So please be kind to each other. Matt, or sorry, go ahead and
Thank
take
you,
us out,
Daniel.
Daniel.
To God be the glory. Peace from the Lord be unto each and everyone. Thank you, Brother Liberty, for the space, Brother Aaron for the space, Fido, everyone for being here. We worship you. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. May your kingdom come. Tonight, we thank you for this space, for the voices, for the heart and the mind that have come together here. We ask for your healing upon everyone who has joined. We continue to ask for the healing of body. We ask for the healing of the mind and then the healing of the spirit. Restore strength where there is weariness. Bring peace where there is tension. And fill every heart with hope and encouragement. May the words spoken here bring understanding. May the words spoken here bring unity, and may the words spoken here bring encouragement to all listeners, to all hosts, and to all speakers. Bless the host and participant, guide our steps, and let the connection made here bear fruit for good. Keep us safe as we go from this space, and let your love and light continue to shine through every interaction, both online and in our life, in Jesus' name, and guide us through next week. May your mercies and grace be upon us. We continue to pray for peace to prevail between and among nations in this war. We thank you for yesterday. We continue to thank you for today, and we thank you forever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Daniel, for saying that. I just want to leave everybody with a little bit of the word from the book, right? So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you hopefully next Monday at 7:00 p.m. on our second episode with with Mr. Larry Brock on Liberty X Happy Hour. Thank you all for coming, and we will see you soon. Take care.
See you soon. Thank you, everyone.